Now let's go into the agricultural aspect of what is really going on here by starting with exploring what Caroni County is first. This land used to belong to a state-owned or government company named Caroni 1975 Limited. This company harvested and processed sugarcane in Trinidad. Sugarcane has had a great history in Trinidad, and it has brought about much development in the past. It could also be said that it helped to create the amazing melting pot, as people say, of different races from Africans to Indians to Chinese that we have today. Caroni started as a British multinational company and established itself as a conglomerate, buying off all other sugar-related entities. Later, into the 20th century, oil became big money. Oil became the big money-making industry, and sugar, with its connected agricultural sector, sank so low that Caroni Limited closed down in 2003, leaving over 40,000 employees affected, as well as over 75,000 acres of land available for some other kind of use. The closure was extremely negative to the country, and many suspect corrupted political reasons for it happening. You can decide that for yourself. Right now, in 2014, the time of the production of this video, Trinidad's Caroni lands have been idle, not being utilized at all. Now, doesn't it make sense that the residents would rather a highway segment running through there than through their houses? It's also worthy to mention at this point that Trinidad has fallen into over $4 billion in food import costs, when it's supposed to be a country full of food because of its agriculture. Our forefathers, including Mr. Sioux, built their entire lives on earning money through hard work in the fields with agriculture.
I plant all kind of garden, plenty garden. I share from that. I sell some, I give away some. I my work, I planting garden over 50 years now. I know how to do gardening. I have registered for mining in agriculture. My whole life was mining animals, planting garden, and this was my work going through. And that's what helped me to mine the family. I mine my little livestock, my little duck, my little fowl, and we had to go much in the market to buy everything. We cut rice, we plant rice, we sell these rice. When we get our money, we give children to go to school, we buy uniform, we buy books, we buy clothes, we buy everything for them, give them passes to go to work. I buy Christmas goods. We also get paid once a year for the Christmas, you know. December month coming close to the Christmas. We planting rice whole day, we cutting rice. We whole day we beating rice in the night. We tote the rice, we put it home, next morning we cut, we beat. Next night we beat again. Daylight we cut in, night we beating rice and toting rice. And that is where we sell and get a little money and we educate the children with. We had no income coming from nowhere. We buy mine one or two animal, a little one or two fowl and duck, and that is what we live by. We plant, we land, we agricultural land, and that is what we live by. That is a real trouble time. I work in whole day until you have daylight sun, you know. When 6 o'clock I going to tie animal now. All 7, 8 I still outside. And I work real hard, and I have right now I have 72 years. And I'm still working.
Trinidad, a country built by agriculture, now so barren of it and lacking in respect for it. It seems to now be without any key agricultural sectors to be proud of. Well, what happened to the Caroni land? A small portion of it was promised to several ex-Caroni workers, and yet today we see an estimated 4,000 of them yet to receive any plot of land. Many suspect that the political party, the PNM, the People's National Movement, closed it down in order to cripple the then opposition UNC, the United National Congress. And instead of restructuring it, nothing was done. By cutting off Caroni, the Buffalipso, which was also a major part of the land, was also cut off. Buffalipso was a major asset to the country. Much hard work was done to breed them by Dr. Steve Bennett, but all of that went to waste when the breeding stopped and a few cattle were sold off to Venezuela and Costa Rica. Dr. Stephen Bennett is still internationally famous for developing the prized meat-producing water buffalo, named the Buffalipso. But are we making use of all of his hard work? It doesn't seem so. Now, while we are on history, let's remember America for a moment. After all, many of us say that Trinidad copies them in every possible way. But do we see a pattern? One of America's first acts of corruption was when they took the bison or buffalo from the Native Americans. Could this be a sign of corruption passed on to what happened to our Buffalipso, a major asset being stopped in our country? And speaking of the Native Americans, bison being their main food, can't this be compared in a way to the agriculture of Trinidad being our main food, its main source, not just for health, but for wealth? Citrus, for example, also suffered exponentially as a wonderful food Trinidad used to produce. But instead of making use of its own juice anymore, Trinidad now reportedly imports juice concentrate from Belize. Progress or profit for a few chosen ones? You make the choice. We have been told that where the highway segment is planned to pass right now will obstruct a whopping 400 acres of agricultural land. Lands built on the foundation of rice, swamp fish, sugarcane, watermelon, and of course, vegetable crops. The fertility of this land is 15 feet deep, meaning that there is a lot of fertile soil, rich in nutrients, which is not always easy to find. This soil is perfect for growth of healthy plants. Because of the soft soil though, we may see parts of the supposed highway collapse in the near future if it is built. Agriculture might be weak in Trinidad, but we cannot forget that there is a beautiful vegetable stall following and garden culture that is very alive in the people. It has greatly empowered many communities, including this affected one. Now, what if it was all to be replaced by so-called progressive looking buildings that may not even truly serve the people, especially in the long run? In modern society, there's much talk about getting the citizens involved in agribusiness, but are they empty promises made just for personal gain? Is it real talk for a brighter future for our country? You be the judge. We just ask the questions. To speak more on the agriculture being affected nationwide, we should explain that while oil is currently the big money maker, it is said that it is running out. So wouldn't it make sense to prepare for that future of no oil by having something to replace it? Agriculture is that something. Not only a replacement, but an improvement, in that it is clean and it is very sustainable. After all, it practically built this country as previously stated. Destroying this land is further disrespect to the way Trinidad has already been handled, and it will have a long-term impact on the local food production in our country. Currently, overseas, farmers are having their lands taken away from them left and right, as agribusinesses take them. less independent farming and much more conglomerate corporate farming happens nowadays. It has been said that 39% of the US used to be involved in farming, but now they only have 2%. What young person wants to be involved in farming anyway, right? Why invest in a natural, healthy lifestyle with physical exercise when you can invest in full-time desk jobs with cheap computers that give meager salaries and employers that force you to work many more hours, up to 12 more hours, than you would on a farm? Why invest in a truly entrepreneurial venture where your small business actually redefines and reforms all the current injustices of today's infrastructure? Owning and operating a farm has now become a thing of the past. It's nearly impossible to do it with all the laws being passed to make life hard for people interested. Why don't you, the viewer, try and let us know how it goes? The topic of farming is a very controversial one nowadays. Nowadays, the US is even going so far as to imprison a farmer for feeding his community. The FDA, that is the US Food and Drug Administration, is using their power to conduct raids on peaceful farmers to shut down farms. And therefore, that means less access to healthy food. Is this Trinidad's future? Is our future depending on foreigners for food instead of ourselves? Depending on others for health, which won't come via food we grow ourselves, you know, the kind that you nurture and you know, but instead it may have to come from public vaccinations, made up of all sorts of chemicals we don't know about. It is good for people to be trusting, and that is one of our strongest qualities as Trinidadians. But are we being naive in this instance? Being trusting does not mean giving up your powers of discernment after all. Real faith is not blind, as many wise people say. Let us look at the USA to see where our future might lay if we continue on this path, whereby our food import bill is tipping the scale at $4 billion TT. As we dig deeper, we see that mega corporations like Monsanto exist, a sustainable agriculture company that poses as an entity that is actually trying to help farmers around the world. Monsanto continues to push their genetically modified foods to the masses, replacing their healthy organic food that we once knew. GM means genetically modified. Speaking of the US, the Obama administration is now trying to prevent children from doing farm chores, or what we know as hard work or manual labor. Who has the power now? Is it the parents or is it the government? With family farms being wiped out, so are all fresh fruits and veggies which are non-GMO. This means non-genetically modified organisms or food. These genetically modified foods contain insect genes, fish genes, pesticides, and even radiation in some cases, totally zapping the food of any nutrients. But why? Why does it exist? Chemicals such as these, especially the pesticides, kill off insects that would usually destroy the crop, such as corn, for example. Now, these Franken foods mean no bugs, no weeds killing them, and more food. So, what does that mean? More profit. But is it the profit progressive for our health? Or is it the kind of profit that only benefits a vested few? Tested on grass, Yes, it takes less water to maintain the GM foods. Tested on potatoes. Yes, it lasts a lot longer on the shelf. But tested on rats, monkeys, and apes, the foods caused slowness, bad organ development, increase in cancer, and most importantly, fertility problems. Care to dig deeper? Well, by the third generation, nearly all of the adults lose their abilities to have babies thanks to these wonderful foods. But is anything being done about it? No, sir. We now have more GM foods than ever before. And furthermore, when plants are modified, they become patented and soon become property of the multinational biotech and industrial livestock corporations. This may be too much for you to digest, but basically it means that the main corporations of the world and the people involved are so sold out that they have sold their soul to the point of not caring about you. You who may not be mega wealthy. And this has given them the thought that killing and controlling you is not just a good idea, but positive help to help them stay in control, which is true. It will do just that. Now, we are not saying that you should become paranoid about what you eat, but we are saying to combat this injustice happening by supporting independent, local food production. Healthy food production, especially by way of fruits and vegetables, which, if we didn't say it enough already, has built this country. This documentary cannot help but dig deeper into the situation to really bring out the fact that we need to take care of our farming, our local Trinidad farming. So we will go into GMOs some more. GMOs are spread in the wind, and what that means is that as soon as these genes get into farmers' crops, it is owned by the corporations, not by the farmers. This means ownership all at the expense of the family farmers, the rural communities, and, of course, their food supply, which they are in charge of for themselves. Ask yourself, who controls the food? Who controls you when you don't even know what is a GM food and what isn't at the grocery because they don't even label the products? And GMO is found in everything from corn to corn syrup to soy to sugar to aspartame to much of the dairy on the market. These are genetically modified feces in many cases that wreak havoc on our bodies. One of the main reasons for India honoring the cow was for its dairy, its ghee that represented strength. Now, we have the US raiding small business farmers for selling raw milk. Is it that we must only have access to GM milk instead? Perhaps there is something in natural raw milk that is too good for us. Food for thought. Monsanto and the GMOs have no end. We are explaining all this so you understand the importance of farming, which is what is being taken advantage of right now in this country, most especially in this situation of the Debe to Mondesi highway section. GMOs are on the rise, and many times we passingly encourage these things. Bill Gates, for one, has been encouraging this for quite some time, and look at how many of us Trinis look up to him. Check out his venture in Africa with Monsanto GMOs. This is the Bill Gates whose vaccines are killing and crippling children, not only there but all over the world. Once again, will we rely on vaccines rather than food for our health? Has anyone questioned why polio vaccines are now the #1 cause of polio?